KRFF 95.9. Right before me, Side Stage with Trav on your Thursday, noon to 3. And then you got me, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, 4 to 5. At 4:20, I open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. Right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. You got locals on the 8, Radio Madness, and you wrap up your swell and keen Thursday with Black Ring Ritual here on, again, Radio Free Fargo 95.9, down in the heart of Fargo. Again, gorgeous day. You can stream wherever you are, radiofreefargo.org. Again, we welcome you. I talk about cannabis, legalization. I talk about certain states that are having certain things going on. I just basically push cannabis in a positive light. So I thank everybody for listening. Again, stay with me. We're going to push through some red tape. 4:20, we're going to get the show rolling for you. The New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. And this show, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, is graciously sponsored by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. I promote the product, the body butter. It's got CBD. It's got alpine hemp, North Dakota products. It's got frankincense and myrrh. Got comfrey. It's got a bunch of other stuff. Mango butter, colloidal silver, a weasel skin. Just kidding. You can apply it to anything externally. I haven't heard anybody who's eaten it. I haven't. But it'll work for all kinds of stuff, dry in between your fingers. Like I say, head funk, ear funk, nose funk, and the funkity funk as well. So you can go to Orange Records and sign the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition. And then go to Tochi Products and pick up the Black Cottage Alchemy products. And there, they also have candles, they have soap, and they also have stuff over in West Fargo at Odds Two Ends Gift Shop. So you can go in there and check it out. Joe also has the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition in there. So if you're out and about downtown, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition has been circulated in North Dakota. You can go to ndcannabiscaucus.com and find out in your town where you can sign. And like I say every week, I believe cannabis was created by God, by our Creator, for us to use for our benefit for a variety of reasons. And I show him respect at Antioch Church on Sundays, 10 a.m., South Fargo, if you want to do it. The only church that's worth being into, if you ask me, is Antioch Church. But anyway, we got a show for you, 4:20. We'll open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. I got a little, kind of maybe some space music I got today. Here's brand new Alt J, You and Me, on KRFF. You and Me, Alt J, on KRFF 95.9 LPFM, RadioFreeFargo.org. We're streaming all over the stinking world. Wherever you're at, you want to listen to cannabis talk, local, national, USA. You can hear it here. 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. This Thursday's no different. We'll talk about Minnesota. I'll tell you about ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act right now. If you're living in North Dakota and you're wondering because you've been living in a rock, I suppose if you were in a rock or under a rock, you still probably couldn't hear anything. That's my guess. I've never lived in either one of those places around a rock, but I would imagine either in or under, you probably wouldn't have heard that ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act is the only thing being circulated in North Dakota for the promotion of cannabis legalization. It's 21 plus to possess, 12 plants, 6 mature, 6 un, a licensed business, and you can smoke wherever you can smoke, whatever that means. I paraphrased that a little bit. But anyway, you can go to Orange Records, you can go to Tochi Products, at the very least here in Fargo, North Dakota. There's other places as well. ndcannabiscaucus.com, you can find out where those places are. Signatures are being compiled and gathered as we speak. If you got time to get them, go get them. And if you only got time to sign, but bring your mother with you. However, South Dakota, they're getting all embroiled. Nebraska, man, there's stuff going on. Oklahoma, they've got one of the best medical cannabis programs around, and they're submitting 2 cannabis legalization measures. We'll get into that. I'm not even sure why they are, but Apparently they're upping the amounts, and I don't want to give too much away because, you know what I mean? So for those of you guys, this will probably be the last time I talk about Kratom. Monday was the 4th Monday, which at the end of this week will be a whole month. 0 stimulants. We're talking no sugars. 0 sugars. 0 stinking, sugars. But 0 processed foods. 0 stimulants. 0 caffeine. And by gum, if I don't feel pretty good today. Now, by taking technically an opiate, Kratom is used a lot for opiate reduction and opiate replacement, and it does stimulate the opiate receptors in a larger amount. And you can assume I went as far up in the larger amount as you can get. When you're getting, kilos at a time, you know what I'm saying? You're probably up in the opiate register. However, I noticed my stinking shoulder is hurting, my left shoulder. Maybe there's arthritis. But ever since I stopped, I've had a sore shoulder. So I'm thinking I took it, it masked the pain. But now what do? I don't want to take aspirin. Do I have somebody come and punch me in the face so I don't feel my shoulder? I don't know. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday here at KRFF 95.9. 4 o'clock, I come a scooty-doot-doot-dootin' into the studio. 4:20, I open a big fat bag of cannabis news. We talk about cannabis in a positive light. Talk about cannabis legalization. It'll be fun. We'll clap. Some of us will, some of us won't. Maybe you'll learn something, maybe you won't. But I will tell you this, it's a beautiful stinking day in Fargo. So if you can't get outside and hug you some of this warm, blue-skied stuff, just smack your head on the desk and listen to it here at KRFF 95.9. Because after this, we got Stinky Arts Music Mart, Locals on the 8, Radio Madness, Black Ring Ritual. So thank you, everybody, for listening to me. Indie for Freedom again of Cannabis Act. Petitions being circulated. 4:20, we're going to talk about more. I've got stinking clutch on deck here. Brand new clutch for you space cadets. I got 7 minutes of very minimal vocals, but it's pretty cool, and it sets up the show. And so if you're not an instrumental brand new clutch fan, well, again, you got to slap yourself on the head with a mallet, and then go make yourself a turkey sandwich with mayo, organic, hopefully. And then come on back for 4:20 here for Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. So, I think we're going to go ahead and push this off. Here's Apache. Clutch. Brand new. 7 minutes. Then it's time to party. Now that our audio, whatever is cleansed, our audio palette is cleansed, that was Apache. Clutch. Brand new. KRFF 95.9 LPFM. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's me, Wilson. We talk about cannabis in a positive light. That's coming up in a mere minutes. 4:20, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news. Just wanted to tell you that right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart, Locals on the 8, Radio Madness, and then Black Ring Ritual wraps up your Thursday. Right before me, Side Stage with Trav, noon to 3. That's what's going on Thursday. There's stuff going on every day of the week here. RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming. We appreciate and we'll take any donations and any love you might push our way. We're an independent radio station, the only station I know that would let this kind of content go through. They've been good to me here, and so I shout them out anytime I can. KRFF 95.9, that's the radio station everybody should be listening to. We appreciate all our underwriters getting with us. We've got enough to do 2 an hour, and we thank you. And we'll keep doing what we do. Now, Indie for Freedom of Cannabis Act, petition being circulated in North Dakota. If you haven't signed it, sign it. And we're going to get this show started. I'm going to play the music that I play. But I just wanted to, I got a few seconds here. So since I'm not doing any sugar, I can't have any chocolate, no caffeine. And I loved all that. I love sugar, coffee, speed. Well, you get the picture. But now I'm not doing any of that. So I realized in this diet that I'm on that I can have 100% cacao. Now, if you've eaten pure cacao with 0 sugar, it's the most bitter thing you ever stuck in your mouth. I mean, it'll curl your lips right over in once. And I rode my bike over to Hornbacher's. I picked some up. And I thought, well, I'll chew on a piece on my way on my ride back. The sun was setting into Fargo. It was beautiful. I threw that big square in my mouth, and I had to eat it. And it was the worst. But here's what I figured out. I could lick the top and pour stevia sugar, the stevia sweetener that I'm allowed, on the square, and then bite that off. And then, boy, that's what I've been doing. So just a tip. Stevia on cooking chocolate. It's the bee's knees. All right, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. On the other side of this little Radio Free Fargo. We love you. See you in a minute.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. The super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
And I think we'll just shut her down right there. Wake and Bake by the Goats. They've been my loyal, faithful intro music for 94 shows now. Let's give the fact that I've done 94 shows a hand. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I see Martha showed up again. Good. And wearing both shoes. God bless you. I see that guy's there. You're here. We're all here. Let's talk about cannabis in a positive light. Again, North Dakota, Indy for Freedom of Cannabis Act. That's the petition being circulated. If you can get involved, get involved. And if you can't, sign. Or just be the talking head so you can, and educate yourself so you can benefit others on the benefits of cannabis. See, I used to think that you could educate others so you could, educate yourself so you could educate others of the benefits. But I realized you could say educate yourself so you could tell them about the benefits of the benefits. Anyway, I'm Wilson. Maybe a rough start here. Maybe I should have had the real chocolate with sugar. But we'll get pushing. I wanted to try and play this. All right, I haven't done this before. And Jason Anderson said a lot of times playing video for audio, there's a lot of dead space. But this is a recent, video on South Dakota and the frustrations. It's from Dakota News now. Cannabis advocates growing frustrated with delayed implementation. We're going to play it. If the audio's bad or I can't figure it out, I'll just shut it off and we'll keep moving. But until then, let's give this a shot.
It has been just under 3 months since initiated Measure 26 and Amendment A were supposed to have been fully implemented. That was to have happened on July 1st.
Now, these measures that would have legalized the use of both recreational and medical marijuana were approved by voters in the November election, and the groups that fought to put them on the ballot are speaking out about the delay. Cordell Wright has our top story tonight at 6. Cordell, good evening.
Good evening, Brian and Andrea. South Dakotans for Better Marijuana Laws is the group that gathers signatures to put IM26 and Amendment A on the ballot. And they have grown frustrated with the delayed implementation process on medical marijuana and are still waiting on a Supreme Court ruling for Amendment A.
Everyone's waiting every Thursday, refreshing the Supreme Court webpage to see whether or not the people are going to get what they voted for.
The fact that people are saying we were not smart enough to know what we were voting for is utterly ridiculous in my mind. We absolutely knew what we were voting for.
Bill Stocker is the director for South Dakota for Better Marijuana Laws, and he also served 15 years on the Sioux Falls Police Force.
I saw up close and personal what marijuana does and does not do. I've never had a problem with anybody that I've arrested for marijuana. They were totally compliant.
Bill believes it shouldn't have taken this long to get rules and regulations in place, and that it also puts officers in a bad position for enforcing marijuana laws.
What is law enforcement going to do come July 1st? They had no direction. I feel like the legislators and the governor have been dragging their feet since November all the way to June 30th.
Ned Horsted is the Cannabis Industry of South Dakota Executive Director.
It's a group of business owners that are working together to make sure that the medical law is implemented properly, and hopefully we'll get what the people voted for on Amendment A soon as well.
As everyone waits to see what the South Dakota Supreme Court rules on Amendment A, these marijuana advocates are already planning to fight the single subject rule.
If we win the Amendment A case and the South Dakota Supreme Court says, look, this does not violate the single subject rule, then we're in good shape. There's no need to change it. It's being interpreted the way it's supposed to. But if the single subject rule is used to overturn Amendment A, we have a problem, and the only way to fix it is to repeal the single subject rule.
4 marijuana-initiated measures have already been filed with the state as a proactive measure due to the delayed Supreme Court ruling. so South Dakota voters can expect the fight for marijuana to continue.
I've talked to a lot of pretty conservative legislators even that probably did not support Amendment A, but know that the people did, and they're looking forward to running a bill for adult use 21 plus in the legislature this year.
We're asking for volunteers for our signature drive that's going to happen here shortly for the 22 election.
If you're interested in signing a petition, helping gather signatures, or just want to gain more information about marijuana laws in the state, you can do that at SouthDakotaMarijuana.org. A link to that is available on the Dakota News Now website. Brian?
Well, that's cool, if you ask me. And that kind of wraps it up. And the audio seemed to be pretty good, so that's groovy. South Dakota, man, I mean, what a battle. And I'm impressed by this news outlet. They seem to be, they seem to be pretty pro the people's choice. So shout out to South Dakota again. And if you're in South Dakota, they need volunteers because they've got just a month to get like 60-some thousand signatures. And I believe the Marijuana Policy Project helps them. So it's a little easier than North Dakota, where it's just people's just drive and their own cash out of pocket, which, doesn't help canvass and, saturate the people's, the people to get the amount of signatures in the amount of time. So my thoughts and prayers are with South Dakota. Again, Nebraska, what a mess. Why don't we talk about that here? This is from the Marijuana Policy Project, as I would say, Cannabis Policy Project. So there's a new 2022 ballot initiative, and as you know, Nebraskans, got it thrown out by the Supreme Court. They had all the signatures. It was a mess. Thanks to a new 2022 ballot initiative led by a coalition of families, patients, and legislators, Nebraskans may have an opportunity to end the criminalization of medical cannabis in their state next year. Under the banner of Nebraskans for Medical Cannabis, local advocates intend to qualify a pair of initiatives ahead of the November election next year. In total, they'll need to gather about 175,000 ballot signatures, which they did last year, no problem, except it was the stinking Supreme Court that foiled them. Across the state before July 7th, 2022 deadline. Sponsors are again State Senators Anna Wishart Rocks, and Adam Moorfield filed drafts of the measure with the Nebraska Secretary of State in early September. So now they're recruiting volunteers from across the state. They're working to organize local teams and mobilize supporters to be part of the grassroots signature drive. If you live in Nebraska, learn more, get involved, and donate at nebraska2022.com. So, rock on Nebraska, rock on South Dakota. Indy for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition being circulated in North Dakota. Get involved. Now we're going to just kind of play around because I've covered. And as far as I know, Minnesota ain't doing nothing. And what I read is that the legislative session starts in January. So I would imagine that kind of stuff gets going. I just wanted to blurb briefly that a very huge ordering and delivering and shipping company that has just recently opened a huge warehouse in North Fargo. I don't want to say the name because, quite frankly, I don't necessarily approve of it. However, they have put out a statement that said they will no longer be testing for cannabis to be employed. And it seems to be the trend because they just can't get enough people to work because a lot of them are choosing to use cannabis in their own personal time. And even if they use it medically, I personally have known thousands of people that went out at break time and handled their business and went inside and handled their better business, myself included. So I don't know where I stand there. But I don't think cannabis, unless you're ripping crazy moon rocks right before you do some technical CNC machine operating, that that there should be a test for it. And so it's nice to see that that's happening because, again, there's a lot of cool people that have convictions and beliefs. And I believe that I should be allowed to do it. And I'm not going to work at a place that doesn't let me do it, whether it's illegal or not. The same thing with my Christian beliefs. I'm not going to let anybody tell me what I believe about what I believe. I'll go to jail for it. So that's what I think a lot of people need to do, is bow up, rise up, and say, this doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt you. In fact, it helps me for things that normally I would need some, psychotropic or a pharmaceutical that's got all kinds of side effects. And I've yet to see any side effects from cannabis that required other medicine. Feel me? So anyway, I think I got hung up there. But I'm back. Cannabis moment. FBI clarifies that using cannabis more than 24 times disqualifies would-be agents. Now that's crazy. So activists were encouraged this summer when the FBI moved to loosened its employment restrictions, and I mentioned it. But they further revised the policy to add a stipulation, which they always do. So now, check this out. So now you can't be an FBI agent if you've used cannabis more than 24 times after turning 18. Now again, are people tallying this? If every time you smoked or consumed or utilized cannabis for whatever reason, you what? You got to keep tracking a little logbook? You know, like dreams. You know, things I want to be, FBI agent. When I can't be, you mark it 1 to 24. You get down to 22, you're like, oh man, 2 more times I can't be an FBI agent. And again, what determines times? I mean, because there's been days where, you know, and certainly not within 7 years, of course, I'm here to change the law, not break the law. And even honestly, I don't remember the last time I even thought that it made sense to do it 24 times in a day. But I certainly have. And I would argue a couple of you guys, Doug, have done it 24 times in a day. So let's say you do it 24 times 3 times a week. What is that? 72 times? Who's keeping track of that? And how does that contend for your efficiency at being an FBI agent? I don't get it. So here's a little more stuff that will be said, and then we'll move on. This is just kind of weird to me. It simply said in an update to its job eligibility guidance that candidates who have, quote, have used cannabis or any of its various forms, cannabis, hashish, hash oil, or THC, synthetic or natural, in any location, domestic or foreign, regardless of the legality, whether it was legal or not, more than 24 times after turning 18 years old is a disqualifier. So I don't know what that means. FBI set a new seemingly arbitrary threshold for applicants. Use cannabis up to 2 dozen times before becoming a legal adult. You might still have what it takes to work at one of the nation's leading law enforcement. So smoke one 25th time, you're ineligible. So just wrap your brain around that. I can't. But anyway, what else do we got for you? Cannabis moment. Oklahoma activists finalized language for 2 2022 marijuana ballot initiatives. Now, Oklahoma has got a sweet medical cannabis program. So maybe they don't have a recreational. But let's see. They have finalized language of initiatives to legalize adult use. Also, they do have a rec. And then remodel the state's existing medical cannabis program that they hope to place on the 2022 ballot. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with the medical. But the rec looks like adults 21 and older would be able to possess up to 8 ounces that they purchase from retailers, as well as whatever cannabis they yield from growing up to 12 plants for personal use, which sounds like Oklahoma is rocking and rolling. Cannabis sales would be subject to a 15% excise tax, but if you can grow up to 12 plants, how often would you need to go? You know, unless you wanted to do like boutique purchases, you know. And the initiatives outlines a number of programs that would receive partial revenue from those taxes, which is great. The money would first cover implementation costs and then would be divided to support water-related infrastructure, people with disabilities, substance misuse, law enforcement training, cannabis research, and more. All good stuff. So, voters approved cannabis legalization at the ballot in 2018. Unlike many state medical programs, it does not require patients to have any specific qualifying conditions. Doctors can recommend cannabis for any condition they see fit. Activists want to revamp the program, however. The separate initiative would establish a commission to oversee all areas of the medical cannabis system. It would also set a 7% excise tax on sales, with revenue supporting research, rural impact, urban waste, ag development, mental health response, substance misuse, and more. So it looks to me like they want a commission to oversee, and they want to make you pay more. So that ain't great. But the recreational one looks good. And so I just want to tell you, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, every Thursday, 4:20. I get in here at 4. We talk about cannabis in a positive light. We talk about news around, as you can, obviously hear if you've been listening. For those of you who haven't listened to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson before, I'd like you to put your right hand up in the air and say, I do solemnly swear to never, never, ever call cannabis anything but cannabis. No marijuana, no weed, no dope. So help you, dude who just said it. All right, you're in the club. Now, let's read this. This is from harrisbricken.com. I think these are like lawyers. The FDA warns consumers of the risk associated with Delta 8 THC products. This was printed September 17th this year. On Tuesday, the FDA released its first statement via consumer update regarding Delta 8. The agency decided to provide consumers with key information surrounding the popular cannabinoid following a sharp increase in adverse event reports involving the substance DTDT. So Delta 8 has yet to be evaluated and approved by the FDA, but in my opinion, I have been able to find things in my entire life that were either natural, that either coincided and worked with your kind of chemical makeup. I mean, the stuff they want you to buy isn't always, and it's rarely, the only thing that'll work. That's all I got to say. So just because, in my opinion, that the FDA doesn't approve it, I, from personal experience, know that that doesn't always mean that it's bad for you. It just means that in a lot of cases, they're not able to get money by approving it. So they don't. So anyway, the FDA is denouncing the proliferation of Delta 8 products marked for therapeutic or medical use. And you'll see that in a lot of stuff. You know, it's like a botanical thing. It's not used for consumption. However, you take it home and consume it. I mean, who you trusting? You know, the FDA says, no, you can't do that. And you're like, well, my buddy did it, and he knows better, and he's fine. So suck it. And in a lot of cases, I agree. You know, and my discontent with, doctors started to grow once I got a degree in occupational therapy. I worked in the medical field for 18 years. I am very adept at Google. I don't just go to like Snopes or wherever. You know, I do my research. And I raised a daughter who's mostly healthy. Shout out Jada. Teaching her hind end off in Dickinson. Anyway. Delta 8 THC products have been reported as causing serious health issues. Let's see. Exposure cases, 661 that triggered vomiting, hallucinations. A lot of people say that's the other stuff in it. Delta 8 products have psychoactive effects. I never found that to be true. I found it to work pretty good. But people that I trusted said there was a lot of synthetic stuff that was making Delta 8 possible, and I didn't love that. Some people connected it with spice, and I didn't love that either. Delta 8 products often contain harmful chemicals. See, that's what I'm saying. So Delta 8 THC products are not suited for children or pets. Again, manufacturers are making and marketing products that appeal to minors, such as gummies, chocolates, and candies. Furthermore, many of these products can be purchased online, such as 7-Eleven, where there may not be age limits, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to say it's fear tactics. Do your own research. And I'm on the fence with Delta 8. I think in a pinch. And if it's real and it doesn't have any synthetic stuff, knock yourself out. So here we go. Normal. Connecticut qualified patients can begin home cultivating cannabis next week. So shout out Connecticut. Patients who are registered with the program can begin growing October 1st. Under the new law, patients age 18 and older can have 6 cannabis plants in their home. Households with more than one patient can make 12. That's a dozen for you people who can't count. Over 54,000 residents are currently registered with the regulators to possess and access. Now, I don't know if they come into the home or how they do that. Non-patients will continue to face sanctions for cultivating cannabis. Home cultivation for adults remains prohibited until 2023, although retail cannabis sales to those 21 and older are anticipated to begin sometime next year. Under current law, adults may legally possess up to 1.5 ounces of the cannabis fluid or an equivalent amount of cannabis concentrates in public. Up to 5 ounces of cannabis in their private homes. Shout out Connecticut. Well, the East Coast seemed to be doing a lot this year. So, Delaware, September 16th, normal also. Supreme Court says cannabis odor isn't grounds for a warrantless arrest. Police officers may not make a warrantless arrest of a person based solely upon the odor of cannabis emanating from them, according to the rule. In a 4-1 decision, the court determined that the stinky smell of the stinky stink alone does not provide police with reasonable grounds to believe that either a felony has been committed or that a suspect has committed a misdemeanor in the officer's presence. Under state law, warrantless arrest is only permissible in these two instances or if the suspect is under 18 years of age. Possession of up to 1 ounce of cannabis is a civil violation in Delaware, regardless of the age of the person possessing it. The majority of the court ruled that there was no possibility that the officer could have reasonably presumed the suspect's age at the time or that the suspect possessed felony quantities, so the court further found no evidence that the defendant committed a crime while in the arresting officer's presence. The court's ruling reverses a lower court decision and suppresses all further evidence of drug law violations that were identified following the defendant's arrest. So poo-poo on you, Delaware. Now, I'm going to try to read this little thing, and then we'll wrap up this week's Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Again, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, the petition being circulated in North Dakota. Get involved. This is from ND Star News. Cannabis, 5 things for Indiana residents to know about buying legal cannabis in Illinois. Here we go. Hoosiers are welcome to buy legal recreational cannabis in Illinois. The problem's bringing it home, huh? Plenty of people get caught doing so, said Indiana State Police spokesman Todd Ringel. That can lead to a citation or arrest on our side of the border where the drug is still prohibited. Indiana is one of the only 18 states where weed isn't legalized or decrimmed in some form, leaving cannabis tourists vulnerable. One driving across the U.S. runs the gamut of those differing laws. Here are some things to know if you're considering heading over into Indiana. In Indiana, possession of cannabis is a misdemeanor. Ringel said most people caught returning from Illinois are just cited and released, but arrest is possible too. Possession can ramp up to level 6 felonies if the offender has a previous drug charge or if they're caught with 30 grams or more. Obtaining that much at Illinois dispensaries is impossible due to caps on how much of out-of-state residents can buy. Which, are they tracking every purchase? Because, well, first of all, let me tell you this. You can only, as an out-of-stater, buy 15 grams of flour, which 28 grams is an ounce. But why can't you go to the next dispensary and get another 15? So I think it's funny that they mentioned that, because I don't know that that's necessarily true. You can obtain more than 30 grams. But anyway, we want to make sure everyone knows that even though it's legal to purchase in Illinois, it's not okay to bring it back to Indiana. You think, Ringel? But if you decide to cross the state border with cannabis, it's not a good idea to break other laws at the same time. Words to live by, Ringel. State Patrol Superintendent Doug said last year that the police doesn't go out of its way to catch those buying cannabis for personal use to give to, quote, a family member who might be dying of cancer and allow them to have peace, unquote, which is pretty insightful for a copper to say. Ringel also agreed. He said it's traffic laws that get people with cannabis in trouble. Everyone we're catching for possession was being stopped for traffic violations. It blows my mind how many people are transporting illegal drugs, which is not a drug. It's a plant. It's a supplement. Yet they disregard red lights or roll through stop signs or speed. The closest place to buy legal cannabis is a little more than an hour away from Evansville, Indiana. So Harrisburg's open 7 days a week with set hours. It caps out-of-state purchases, 15 grams of flour. So since Indiana residents can buy cannabis in Illinois but can't legally bring it home, where are they supposed to use it? And apparently they can't really use it. Really. You know, so I think there might be some lounges that are creeping up. But that's interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? And this about wraps up this week's Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. Thanks for joining me. From 4:20 to 4:45, we talk about cannabis in a positive light, cannabis legalization, random news from the week before or currently this week. Next week will be about next week. This segment of programming on KRFF 95.9 is being underwritten by Art Riot Promotions. Art Riot will design and print any business or personalized custom decals in a variety of shapes and sizes. Art Riot creates custom engraved gifts and promotional items. Art Riot also offers flexible online or in-person consultations. Local in-store pickup or shipping is available for any order. Visit them at 819 Main Avenue in Moorhead. Art Riot is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can find them online, artriotpromotions.com, and also on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out Art Riots. And I know when we were doing Measure 3, they stepped up and hooked us up with shirts. So they're good dudes. Art Riot for your decal, shirts, and printing needs. Thank you for being an underwriter here at Radio Free Fargo 95.9, which brings us to a musical break. And I'm happy to give you brand new Green Sky Bluegrass. It's a cover. It's called Help, and it's right now. Oh man, first up, Help. Green Sky Bluegrass, brand new. And then my man from Jay Giles, Peter Wolf, does Love Stinks. Also with a bluegrass hillbilly feel here on KRFF 95.9. We're streaming wherever, however, radiofreefargo.org. This was Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I bring you cannabis legalization information, as I do every week at 4:20. Right after me and on deck, looking at me through the window, is Stinky Arts Music Mart. Right after me, Locals on the 8, Radio Madness, and then Black Ring Ritual wraps up your Thursday here at the aforementioned 95.9 Radio Free Fargo here in beautiful, beautiful downtown Fargo. What a lovely day. Get out and embrace it. It is fantastic. My sponsor is Black Cottage Alchemy. They do a body butter, which is got alpine hemp, CBD, frankincense, myrrh, colloidal silver, comfrey, and a bunch of other stuff. You can get it at blackcottagealchemy.com, Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. You can go to Odds to Ends in West Fargo, or you can go right downtown here, right outside the studio to Tochi Products. While you're in there, sign the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition. Skip on through to Orange Records. They got the petition in there too. And tell Matt Joe sent you, and I mean Wilson. But if you're in Tochi, tell Joe Wilson sent you. Man, I'm getting kind of scrambled up here, but that means that I'm about ready to get out of here. I also forgot, because now we're doing 2 underwriters an hour, to knock this one out. So I just wanted to tell you all, programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Carmine and Hayworth. Carmine and Hayworth offers vintage clothing and novelty items for those who love the thrill of all things different. I do. They're not just a vintage shop, but a community and experience. Carmine and Hayworth is located at 616 Main Avenue in Fargo. Find them on Facebook and Instagram, or visit their website at carmineandhayworth.com. Shout out Carmine and Hayworth. Okay. Well, I'm about out the door here. I'm going to shoot out a little early. I don't know that anybody's going to complain too much about that. Again, I'll be back on Thursday. So, talking about cannabis with a fresh 420 wrapped up in a nice little bow that doesn't stink like cannabis at all, and 0 seeds, I promise you. But maybe a little filler. I can't lie about that. I like to jive. I'm the word hustle man, Captain Green. But anyway, it's 420 in the studio. I'm dressed appropriately. Thanks for joining me. I'm asking you to educate yourself so you can educate others on the benefits of cannabis. And again, right after me, here's Stinky Arts Music Mart. I'll be right on back. But let me just tell you that I can't wait to see you again. Come on back. KRFF 95.9. I'm out of here. Here's Hiley. Help yourself. Cold sweat. Sweet. Peace.